Hi, I'm with the president of hockey operations and the general manager of the Eastern Conference winning Edmonton Oil Kings. Kirt Hill, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. Kirt, this was an interesting year. Obviously, the whole world is going through a global pandemic right now. Our draft is usually in Red Deer. We're all together. We weren't able to do that. What did your staff do to prepare for this draft so that everybody was on the same page come draft day?
Yeah, no, definitely. You're right. It was a little bit different this year, but I think one of the things that was fortunate with our group was that they had done a lot of work earlier in the season, that we felt really comfortable with, how many viewings we had on every player and how much work we had that went into it earlier in the year. Once the pandemic hit and we kind of geared towards understanding that there wasn't going to be any provincial camps and, no in-person draft, no in-person meetings, we geared our focus towards technology and obviously use some of these different platforms to be able to coordinate, which I think was fun, trying to get all of our 17 scouts organized and get them all on using WebEx and Zoom interviews. But that was good. But once we got that figured out, we were all in communication on that, provincial meetings, and then obviously the work that Jamie Porter puts in on a day-to-day basis. He's the lead man on the draft and dealing with prospects and our scouts on a day-to-day basis. And he does a fantastic job with that. So can't say enough of all the work he put in for the draft this season.
Well, speaking of that work that Jamie put in, your first-round pick, Dawson Seitz, a player that had two unfortunate injuries early in the season, missed most of the year. But luckily for Jamie, he'd been able to see him play a couple times, and you guys were very high on him. Now, what about Dawson's game was so great that made you guys take him, even with his limited amount of playing this season?
Yeah, just his skating ability and the skill that he brings, it's very elite. So we think he's got one of the best shots in the draft. He gets it off quick. He's got just has an inside release that he has the ability to pick spots where he wants to put it. And, with his short season this year, you can see from his numbers that, he's scoring almost every game. And, even as an underage in the Bantam League last year, he's a guy that seems to find the back of the net. And, he's got some size to him. And with that size, he plays with a little bit of an edge. And with the skating that he has and the skill dynamic, he was a guy that we feel that we're very fortunate to have been able to select at 20th overall.
Your guys' draft this year, very balanced in your first several selections, forward, two defensemen, and a goalie. Can you just speak on, were you guys looking for those players in those slots, or did it just happen to turn that the best player available happened to be those players in those positions?
Yeah, we really want to take the best player approach. I think when we were sitting there in the first round, we were kind of waiting to see what was going to be available. I think we were open to a D and a forward, and then when Dawson was there, he was just too lead forward for us to pass up on, and we made that selection. And then, going back to the U.S. draft, we had the third overall pick, and we almost considered that to be like having a second round pick in the Canadian draft with the player that we got and Alexios. And, so now having two big-bodied forwards that have skill and can skate so well, once we got to the fourth round, we figured we should probably focus a little bit in on the defensive core. And that's where we go ahead and we take Nick and Carter and two guys that, we feel are going to be big in the future.
And then your next pick, goaltender Alex Worthington. Edmonton has really been a goalie factory in the past. You look at players like Laurent Brossoit and then his predecessor, which would be, or successor, Tristan Jarry, who's an NHL All-Star this year. Did you guys, when you were going into the draft, say, in that fifth round pick, we really want to be zoning in on a goaltender? Or was it just like you said, was he the best available player on your list at that point?
You know what? It was something that we hadn't really talked about a lot, taking a goaltender high. As I mentioned, getting those 2D, Ryan and Carter there, we felt like we had addressed that at that point. And getting into the fifth round, Alex was a goalie that was extremely high on our list. And we got to that point, we're like, well, we like this guy way too much to pass up on him. And, we really like our goaltending prospects and the depth we have in that position. But, it's one of the most important things, obviously, on the ice. And this is a guy that we were really high on all year. We thought he had an exceptional SAS first. And, he brings just such a calming and positional goaltending style to the forefront that, and he's got a little bit of size to him as well, which we think is going to pay dividends for him to be a successful goalie in the Western Hockey League.
Kurt, when you send Jamie out, or when you and Jamie are talking about the type of player that you want to have in the Edmonton Oil Kings lineup and in the organization, what are the characteristics of that player?
Yeah, obviously with where the game is today, I'm sure like a lot of other scouts, it's really important, the skating, just with the speed of the game and where that is right now. A lot of guys that play in the Western League right now, they have to be good skaters. Not all of them have to be elite skaters at this level, but they got to be really good skaters. So skating is extremely important for us. We like to look at the skill dynamic that the player has, his overall hockey sense, and then one of the biggest things for us is the compete and character level of that player. We want to be bringing good people into this organization. Going through our picks this year, it just so happened that we picked 5 captains from their teams and respective teams from across Western Canada. So really good character on these people, and that's what we want to see in an Oil King uniform in the future.
Leadership is hard to come by, especially in minor hockey. Getting those good kids is so hard to do. You guys do such a great job with your homework. But now it's about educating them about the way the Oil Kings do things, the culture, the type of player that you want them to develop into. So what's the next step for these players that just went through the Bantam Draft?
Yeah, I think it's just giving them a bit of an introduction to the organization. Every year we usually get to do a development camp in June where the players and their families get to come in for a couple days and really get a full tour of everything to do with the Oil King lifestyle, with the school, the arena, everything. But this year we're going to have to get a little bit more creative with that. Maybe look at doing some things online, putting together some video packages and that. But, it's going to be interesting just navigating the waters here on the day-to-day situation and when we're going to have access to the players actually getting into Edmonton. But, I think for all clubs now, it's an opportunity for their departments to get creative with getting their information over to the players, and that's what we plan to do here moving forward.